music. Oh shit. Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, people. Welcome to Tottenham on Tour, more than just a preview. I am joined by my brother from another mother, my best mate, Bobspur TV, and Wayne Holland. Bob, how you doing, brother?
Very well, very well. Yeah, looking forward to it, man. Looking forward to it.
Good. And Mr. Wayne Holland making his YouTube debut. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, mate, this has been a pleasure. So just a little background story on this. Wayne is a Leicester fan, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of people that will know this story, but it's a story that I tell not just because of how this has joined, but it just goes to show you that sometimes social media can be a cesspool, but sometimes good comes out of bad, so to speak. So obviously people will know the person to the right of me over Christmas put quite a lot of people through a bit of stress and a bit of agony. It weren't too much fun for him either. But my best friend had COVID, had recently lost his father, and it wasn't looking good. So I flew back to England very, very quickly to make sure I was there for him, his kids, Tammy, Kim, and the rest of his family. And obviously, as I'm getting on the plane or boarding my plane for Air Canada, I tweeted out a picture of me just about to board the plane with I'm coming for you, my brother Bobspur, I'm coming for you. Landed at London, and as I turned my phone on and Twitter was going ping, 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 ping because of that message, Wayne had sent a message, not knowing any of this going on, being a Leicester fan, why would he know anything, and said, last time you sang that, you were trying to chase us for the league title. How did that work out? So I said to Wayne, and this is the thing, I could have turned around and not said anything, or I could have gone absolutely nuclear, but I was like, Wayne, listen, mate, this ain't the time, and I gave the reason. And God bless Wayne, because from that moment, Wayne could have just ignored the tweet as well. But obviously, Wayne got back to me immediately, and every single day was phoning up for updates on Bob. New Year's Eve was tweeting out to the whole football community, can everyone do this for Bob, blah, blah, blah. And then obviously, as we can see, thankfully, Bob is making a very, very good recovery. But the greatest thing is it's brought up a brilliant friendship from someone I would never have met, neither of Bob. So Wayne, it just goes to show that good comes out of bad, eh?
It does. Sometimes, we all make mistakes. And I think as long as you own the mistake and you learn from it, it's really important. Now, when I saw your tweet, I don't know why it appeared on my timeline because I didn't know you at the time, but I knew Bob because I knew Bob. I'd seen a couple of his broadcasts. So very knowledgeable guy, really enjoyed his videos. And something a couple of days after I sent you that tweet made me go back to it. I don't know what it was, but I had to go back to it. And obviously when I seen what you'd put and what Kim put, it was kind of one of them, when you want the ground to open up. So I had to reach out to you straight away. Apologise to you, apologise to Kim, and then about an hour or so later, you followed me. I messaged you on Twitter, and it's kind of evolved from then. It wasn't the greatest moment, but as you say, I wasn't aware of the situation.
Yeah,
and I would never have made that comment if I knew what the situation was with Bob. I can't take it back, but I've learned from it, and I think the great thing is that Bob's doing great. That's the most important thing to me, that Bob's doing great, and I'm really, really happy about that. And it was really important to me that you and Kim understood that I'd made a mistake, and you did, and you've both been brilliant about it. So yeah, that's basically how we got to know, and we've got to know each other really well. We have a bit of banter about his prospective clubs.
Yep.
And things are great, and we're getting on really well.
Exactly. And the great thing about this, Bob, is now we have a Leicester fan for any previews we need, don't we?
Sorry, mate. Missed
I
that.
said, I said the good thing about this now is we always have a Leicester fan on standby when we need to do previews. Bob,
I can hear you.
Bob? I don't know if Bob. See, I don't know if Bob's having one of his wind-ups.
Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Just about, mate. Yeah. All right. I'm back now. I'm back with you.
Okay. Good. Thank God. No, what I was saying just then. Let's go for take 3 and see if we can do. I didn't know if you're on your wind-up where your thing's frozen. But no, what I was saying is that the good thing that's worked out as well is now at least we have a Leicester fan for previews and reviews when we need it. Eh?
Absolutely, and everything that you've discussed, it was during I was either high on drugs or in a coma, so I'm not aware of anything. So it's all good. So no, all good. Like I say, everyone makes mistakes. We've all shouted off without thinking. We all say something that we regret. You know, we all have secret fetishes about dwarf porn, but we see past that. We see past that. Not everyone's perfect. Well, I can speak for both of you.
Well said there, Bob. I swear to God, I can't wait till I run in on the wall on Saturday. So revenge might be served out. But yeah, so let's get into it. Like I said, we're going to do this, and it's to be more than just a preview. We've got Wayne here, and it's always good to have the match preview. We thought we'd add a bit more to it, so we have a few topics of discussion. And the first topic is something that Bob and I only wish we could talk about and dream about. And we're gonna deep dive into, as I've called it, and as everyone has called it, not just me, the Leicester City fairy tale season. Obviously, Wayne, I mean, as I was saying to you just backstage, that is something we can only dream for. But with no disrespect for your team, who almost got relegated the season before, sacked their manager, and then to do what they did was just incredible. So kind of walk us through, obviously, from the appointment of Claudio, what your thoughts was, and as the season progressed, what the feeling was around not just yourself but Leicester City itself.
What I would say is, I think when Ranieri was appointed, I think Gary Lineker summed it up really well. He said, "Really, Claudio Ranieri? You know, he's got this reputation as a bit of a tinker man, you know, and as Leicester fans, all we were looking at was just getting 40 points to stay up. That's all it was. And it's easy to say that now, but that's all we were looking to do, just to stay in the Premier League. You know, we'd gone on an amazing run at the back end of the season before to stay up. I think we won 7 of the last 9 games.
Wasn't there a 5-2? Wasn't there a 5-2 against United as well in that run?
No, we'd only. I think the biggest defeat we had all season was 3-1 at Man U. And the thing about that season was we were always in games. We lost a lot of games, funnily enough, to last-minute winners. I mean, when we played you guys at home on Boxing Day, Ericsson scored, I think about the 89th minute from a free kick. And there were so many games like that where we'd got a point or we was winning and then we'd concede a last-minute goal. But when Ranieri, you don't know what to expect because, you know, we kind of kept the same sort of players. We brought Okazaki in and Kante. Didn't know anything about either of them. You know, season started, you know, I think we won his first 2 or 3 games and it looked good. I thought, well, that's, you know, we only need another 34 points now and we're going to stay up. Because I know it sounds bizarre to say that, but, you know, you've got to be honest, you know, if you just said to us at the start of that season, come next May, you're going to be winning the league, I think you'd have been locked up because we didn't see that coming. And it's still, to me, I can't speak for other Leicester fans, but to me, it still doesn't feel real. Sometimes you have to go onto the internet and look at the league table from that season to actually believe that it actually happened. Sometimes it's very hard to, you know, when you've supported a club for like 40 odd years, like I have, and travelled up and down the country and seen them get hammered week in, week out, and gone to home games, and there's been more away fans there than home fans. And then to turn it round was just, it's hard. It's really hard to put into words. It's a bit like when you try and talk to someone who's never had children, who's not a parent, you can, I could talk to Bob about what it's like to be a parent. But if you speak to someone who's never had a parent, you don't know you can't explain it. And it's kind of like that winning the league. It's really hard to put into words.
I can only imagine. But when did it start turning for you? When you thought, wait a minute, something's happening here?
I would say sort of around Christmas. I think when Vardy went on that run when he scored 11. I think he scored 11.
Yeah, 11 games in a row. Yeah,
in 11,
it was 12, wasn't it? I think the 11 was the record, and 12. Well, either way, 11 or 12.
Yeah, it was something like that. And I think we had a game at Everton just before Christmas, and we had 3 or 4 players out, but the players that came in did brilliant. And we sat top of the table at Christmas, and it was, this can't keep going on. People in the media were making jokes about it. I personally was waiting for us to implode, but it never happened. And I think the thing about the first half of the season is we were very open. It was a case of if you scored 2, we'll score 3. And it was some of the games were end-to-end, and they could have gone either way, but they didn't. And I think from my view, the defining moment, I think in February, we had Liverpool, Man City, then Arsenal. And I thought to myself, if we can get 4 points out of them 9, then we've got a real chance. Because Tottenham was still, Tottenham were playing some really good stuff, and they weren't going away.
Yep.
Beat Liverpool. It's when Vardy scored a screamer from about 30 yards.
I remember that volley. I was like, "What you do? Oh my God, what a goal!"
Yeah, and then we went to Man City on Saturday and completely played them off the park. And Mahrez ended off their back four's career at Man City on that day. Yeah. Conte was unbelievable, but we defended really well.
Yep.
But for me, the most pivotal moments of this season, we played Arsenal on Valentine's Day the week later, and we played really well, but lost to a last-minute goal. We'd had somebody sent off, and we'd hung on for like half an hour. And I think the thing was, after the game, Arsenal, thankfully, put a picture of all their players celebrating in the changing rooms as though they thought they'd won the league.
Yep.
And, some of the Leicester players, I can't remember, but they commented on it because people went on Twitter. And I think that was the biggest inspiration that they actually got, because it was almost as Arsenal thought, we've won this now. Leicester are going to collapse. But I think, we only lost 3 games that year, 2 of them actually to Arsenal.
Yep.
But it was how we responded to every time we got beat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After the Arsenal game, we went unbeaten for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
We didn't play. I can't sit here and say we played brilliant every week, because we didn't. But what it was, when things weren't going well, it was kind of right. We're not playing well, but we are not going to concede. We are going to do everything we can to stop the other team. And it might not have been great to watch, but sometimes, some games we played really well and didn't get what we deserved. But other games where we didn't play well, we got more than what we should have done.
Yep.
And it was just, I think it was the Arsenal game, but then we also played West Ham with about 5 or 6 games to go. And we were winning 1-0, and Vardy got sent off, and the most stonewall penalty we should have had. And John Moss booked him and then sent him off. And West Ham scored 2 goals in about 3 or 4 minutes. And it got into injury time. We were 2-1 down. Tottenham were playing later. I can't remember who you were playing.
Manchester United.
And then we got a penalty, which weren't a penalty. I didn't think it was a penalty. It was very soft. And the pressure that was on Ajoa for that penalty. And I still think if he'd have not scored that, things would have been very different. But he did. He just so calm and just buried it. And I see a lot of, and I try and be careful how I word this isn't being sort of gripey. And I see a lot of Spurs fans say that it wasn't fair that we was always playing first. Now, I can understand that, but what I would say is Leicester never moved the fixtures. We had to play when we were told to play.
Yeah.
With playing first, there comes pressure, because the pressure is on you. But I also get it from Tottenham's point of view that they were always having to chase. So if, you can look at it the other way, that if Tottenham had always played first but kept losing and we kept winning, would have turned around and said, well, it's not fair. Why are we always playing first? So I get kind of both that arguments. And as to say, it's not being critical of Tottenham fans in any way, I'm not that sort of person, but it was just, it still didn't feel real. And then when I think you guys played West Brom at home with about 3 or 4 games to go, and you were 1-0 up and you battered them in the first half. It should have been about 5-0.
It's the Dele Alli one, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was at that game, and I was actually at the Leicester game at White Hart Lane when Robert Huth scored the header as well.
Yeah,
I was at both those games.
Yeah, that was the game where we didn't play very well that night, and Schmeichel had one of his demonic goalkeeping games where he stops everything.
Yeah,
and I think we scored with about 5 or 6 minutes. We rode our luck in that game, but I think to win anything, you've got to have a bit of luck as the season goes on. All the great team, the best club team I've ever seen, Barcelona, from about 10 years ago. They're a brilliant team, but they did have some luck, and that I think you need a bit of luck to win things. And that West Brom game, I think, you'd done so well in the first half, but then for the last half hour, West Brom really put it on you. And it was almost, I'm not going to say that word that Tottenham get tagged with, but it was all, it's not so much, but it was almost the pressure got to some of the players. Dele Alli lost it because I think he punched someone in the stomach. He didn't get sent off, right? And then West Brom scored with about 10 minutes to go.
Yep.
And from what I can remember of the game, Tottenham were lucky in the end just to get a point because West Brom had so many chances in the last 15, 20 minutes. And then we had Man U the following week. And we all we had to do was to win it. But if we would have won that game, we'd have won the league. And obviously, we drew.
True, yeah.
And then you guys had Chelsea on the Monday night. One of my best friends is a Chelsea fan. And he went to the game and he texted me literally 2 minutes. He says, "Don't worry, we've got this." And I texted him at half time because, "Well, when are you going to turn up then?"
Yep.
Because Tottenham played them off the park first off, and that could have been 4 or 5. It really could. But when they got a goal back, it was like, I kind of thought, if Tottenham can ride this out, then this is going to go down to the last game of the season. But what I would say is that it's not very often you see one player come on and change your game, and I think that's what Hazard did. Because the moment he came on, it was a totally different game. And I don't normally celebrate. When I watch other games, I don't normally celebrate if one team scores. But obviously, when Hazard's put that winner in, you can imagine it was quite loud in this front room. It was. Can't describe what that moment was like, even though there was 10 minutes to go. It was still, you just had a feeling that Tottenham were going to come back and get another goal. And it didn't sink, and I just sat there after the game for about half hour just looking at the TV. It wasn't sinking in. But my phone was going absolutely crazy because I've got friends who support different teams around the country. And I think I got something like about 60 messages in about 5 minutes. But I couldn't hold the phone because it's the most strangest feeling you'll ever experience. But it's absolutely, after the birth of my 2 children, it was the best day of my life.
I can imagine. I can only imagine because I remember seeing the pubs in Leicester, and then as soon as they won the championship, showing the pubs and the city, what was the feeling around the whole city? Because that's something, again, Bob and I, as of yet, are yet to experience. That must have been for a week, 2 weeks, like the most surreal place on earth.
It was unbelievable. It was just everyone just seemed happy because it was, nobody expected it. It's, I've had a lot of other teams fans say to me, what was it like? And it felt like someone had been playing Football Manager with a team and it suddenly injected all these brilliant attributes into them. But the feeling around it, everyone was just so happy, and it was just, the pubs took an absolute hammer in that week, as you can possibly imagine. And, it was, I didn't get down to the ground, and that's the one regret I've got, that I didn't go down to the ground that night, because it's not that far from where I live.
Okay.
So, yeah, it was just, it's hard to put into words. Although it was 6 years ago, it only feels like yesterday. It still feels it's very surreal. It's really hard to put into words. I know that might not be a great answer, but it's, as a Leicester supporter, we're not a big club and we never will be. So for us to do what we did was quite unreal. And it's something that I'll always have as a Leicester fan. Nobody can ever take it off us.
Yep.
And that's, as I say, it made up for all the God knows how much money I've spent on them over the years, travelling up and down the country. But to see us do that was just great, and it must, you know. You looked at Tottenham that season, and they played some great football. I can't sit there and say that they didn't. You had some really, you know, when you beat teams, you played them off the park. You absolutely destroyed them. And I think I can word this right, but it was how you deal when the pressure comes, when the pressure becomes really hard. How you deal with that. And I think, you know, sometimes the best teams don't win, or the best footballing teams don't win what they should do. And I'm not, you know, at the end of the day, we won the league, we won it by 10 points. It's all great in that. But if you look back at history, you know, Italy won the 2006 World Cup. Were they the best team in that tournament? I would say not, but they found a way to win. And I think that's what's important.
Exactly. And Bob, obviously you would have been, were you still living in Nottingham at the time? So it must have been manic round there as well.
If there was one place you don't want to be as a Spurs fan after the Chelsea game, is the city of Leicester. And guess which mug had an interview as for an energy company the following day. This mug. Jesus. So yeah, the last thing I want to be surrounded by happy Leicester fans, balloons and everything. And it was a night out. The previous night there were quite evident celebrations that happened the night before. So, and my interview was like early in the morning, so I was literally getting in while people were cleaning up the understandable mess from the previous night. But where the interview was, the guy who was interviewing me was a Leicester fan. It was the worst place to be. Suffice to say, my heart wasn't in the interview, so I didn't get the job. But it was not good, man, not good.
Yeah, I mean, obviously as well, having lived at Nottingham at the time, Nottingham and Leicester being big rivals as well. I guess that weren't a great city to live in at the time as well.
No, I think with Forest being in and County not being in the Premier League, it didn't affect them as much. But no, it was all about us, wasn't it? It was all about us.
I think the thing with Forest is we care more about them than they care about us. And some Leicester fans won't like me saying that, but that's the reality. I don't see Forest as my main rival. I look at Coventry.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're the team I've got dislike for the most. Yeah. You know, Forest I'm not really that concerned about. But that's just what, you know, if you speak to any Forest fan, they'll say they don't care about Leicester, but they're always talking about us. So go figure.
So Bob, do you have any other questions? Because I have kind of a segue into the second item. But do you have any other questions about that season before?
I think what was evident that season was, the first half of the season, or probably just mainly 3/4 of the season, it was very gung-ho, very Ranieri-like, and it was, if you score 2, we score 3. But I think that when I realised that Leicester, certainly Leicester players, thought there was a chance, is when they tightened up. Because you were winning... You went from winning 3-1s and 4-2s to winning 1-0s, and certainly towards the end of the season, they were very, very close-knit games. And one thing that we didn't associate with Ranieri is tightening up with the back, and you certainly did that.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of other teams fans have said to me, you know, which players stood out for you? Who were, you know, and it'd be easy to say, Varda, it was everything he seemed to go in. In some games at Mahrez was unplayable. The other teams would put 2 or 3 players on him, and that just leave Vardy all the space in the world. And as great as they were, and as great as his defence was, we don't win that league without N'Golo Kante.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. Because having him on that pitch was like having 13 players. And that might sound bizarre, but the guy, and I mean this in the nicest possible way, he was a freak in nature. The amount of ground that he used to cover, it was literally like having 4 midfielders when we only had 2. Because he'd do so much, and he seemed as fresh in the 95th minute as he did in the warm-up before the game. And to me, we never win the league without him. And that's not being disrespectful to any of the other players, because every squad player at some point stood up and made a contribution. There was no player that didn't contribute anything. Everyone done something that kept us in a game or scored an important goal or made a goal line clearance. So everybody done something. But for me, Kante was the difference maker. And
that's where I was going with it. Sorry, Wayne. I was going to say, because before we go to the next thing, there's two players you mentioned. You mentioned obviously the guy that retired Man City's back four, who now plays for Man City, in Mahrez and Kante, and these players came from nowhere, and I mean literally like nowhere. And then you said, like you said, Kante came in the summer with how do you pronounce the Japanese Okazaki?
Yeah, Shinji Okazaki.
So he came in. Obviously, it's not the most inspiring of windows, but man, props to your chairman and whatever, because those two players, what combined total of like 5.5 million.
But something I think Kante was like just over 5, and Mahrez were about 400 grand. So, and that sounds ridiculous now. I think we sold him for like 60 million. But Mahrez was just, I would say, for 30 of those games of that season, Mahrez was just on a different level. Technically, he's the best player I've ever seen play for us, because some of the things he could do with a ball was just unreal. You'd think players would think that they'd stopped him. Now, the example, I'll give you 2 examples. One, when we played Chelsea, we scored an unbelievable goal where he just literally almost ended up. Yeah, he literally almost ended up as the Chelsea centre of the Spanish guy.
That was Mourinho's last game, wasn't it? That was Mourinho's last game for Chelsea in that season.
Yes. It was. And then when we played Tottenham at home early in the season, Dele Alli scored. I think it was his first goal.
First goal. Yeah.
In about the
header.
About the 83rd minute, we literally scored.
Yeah.
Straight from the kickoff. Now
cut inside again, didn't he? Yeah.
And it was the ball out, and he literally just killed it. And I can't remember which Spurs defender. So, and I know you love this guy, Brian. It was Vertonghen just didn't get close to him, and he just. And that, if you looked at the angle, there's no way in the world that Mahrez could score. And I don't know how he bent it round for Tongan and bent it round Lloris into the corner. It was just little moments like that throughout the season that made such a difference to us. They never knew when they were beat.
Yep.
And I think the biggest thing, they went into every game not fearing who we were playing.
I can see that. But this is the bit now. I'm going to be very careful how I talk in this segment. But we're going to move on to the next one, which is obviously, which I've called two sides of the coin, which is obviously, and it's a subject that needs to be spoken about. Obviously, it's the vast difference how some Spurs fans see our owners and how every single Leicester fan see their owners. Because obviously, again, people will know mine and Bobspur's stance on our ownership. But I mean, your ownership, Leicester fans must be like, not even be able to comprehend what we're going through, and other teams like Everton and Leeds have gone through when you've got owners like you've got, and what they've done, not just for the football club, but the community.
Yeah, I think, when they first came in, they said that they wanted, that they give, one of the first things that the former owner said was, give me 5 years and I'll have us playing in the Champions League. And it was like, yeah, okay. I've got to be honest, not many Leicester fans sort of agree with that, but everything that he said he was going to do, he'd done. And one of the first things he'd done when he done when he came into the club was buy the stadium. So that was the first thing he'd done, was literally buy the stadium. And it's not so much he's done one great thing, but he's done so many. The father and the son have done so many little things. As you say, it's just like going to away games, and if you go with a club, arrive at the ground an hour early and you'll get a free breakfast, or you go to an away game and there'll be a free kit and a scarf for you, or when it's the birthdays or the anniversary or something, you get a free drink and you get some food for free. It doesn't sound like much, but little things like that get the fans on side.
Yep. And
they don't get everything right, but when they do make a mistake, which has just not been very often, they're very quick to rectify it. Which is, as fans, what you want is you want your owners to be, you want to feel close to them. You want them to be honest with you. Don't say one thing, then go and do another. And I'm trying to think how I can word this. Look, as a neutral looking in at Tottenham, You look at the stadium looks amazing. I've not been, but it looks absolutely amazing. Now, I watched the Amazon Prime documentary. I thought it was really good to watch. It gave you an insight of what goes on. And I think one of the things that Pochettino said in it, you can have the best house in the world, but if the furniture inside of it is not much cut, there's no point in having a great, fantastic house. Now, to me, if it was any other business apart from football, if you don't invest in that business, your competitors are going to go past you. I'll be honest, Tottenham are a massive club. They're one of the biggest 6 clubs in the country. They're not, Man U and Liverpool are the 2 biggest clubs in this country, and they always will be. But Tottenham, with the ground that they've got and the support you've got, you think, as a neutral, I can't understand what's going on. Now, you got to a Champions League final, but you didn't invest in the team. You've had Mourinho, one of the best managers of all time. Yeah, his football might not be great to watch, but he gets results and the guy's a winner. But then to sack him 5 days before cup final when you've not won anything for 14 years, it's like, that's a strange one. What's going on there? And now, you brought Conte, who, in my opinion, is just a little bit below Klopp and Guardiola. And I only say that because he doesn't do great in Europe. Not dismissing anything he's done with league titles. For league, I think is it 5 out of 7? 5 out of the last 7 years he's won a title. That's an unbelievable record. So I'm not dismissing Conte at all. He's a fantastic manager. In my opinion, he's probably about the 3rd best manager in the world. But if you don't back him, what is the point in having him? I can't understand that. And it just seems very bizarre to have. Why would you spend all that money on a fantastic stadium, get one of the best managers in the world, but then not back him? It's crazy. And the problem that Spurs have got, whoever playing devil's advocate, let's just say that Conte leaves at the end of next season. Whoever comes in, unless you have Klopp or Guardiola, is a downgrade.
Correct.
And if you don't back Conte, you never back Mourinho, managers are going to look at that job and think, well, why would I go there? Why would I risk my reputation to go and work for a chairman who won't back me? And it's almost, I look at Tottenham as a neutral, and it's kind of the more concerned about regenerating the area, which is fine. But, building hotels and buying golf courses, it's what goes. Now, I've heard you say, Brian, that what happens on the pitch, it's got nothing to do with leaving. That's quite right. But he's responsible for what goes onto that pitch.
Correct.
And, you wouldn't send a gas engineer with only half his kit to do a job. And that's almost like what Levy's doing. And I can't understand as a neutral why he does this. It seems very odd.
It is, and Bob, it's good seeing people looking in at us and seeing as a neutral what they feel about Levy, but we can only dream of having what Leicester have, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, the investment's been there, but the recruitment's been there. They've obviously done their homework on the likes of Kante and Mahrez, Maguire. Well, Maguire,
Well, Maguire paid for the training ground, so
yeah. Well, we won't talk about that. That's probably not the best example, but
it is for Leicester, isn't it, Bob?
Yeah, it's for Leicester.
They sold him from home, got £80 million from him.
Yeah, exactly. So, like I say, the recruitment's been top notch, but it's like chalk and cheese. I mean, and quite rightly so. And without bigging ourselves up, we're the much bigger team. We are the much bigger club, worldwide recognition, etc. But it just proves if you don't have the basics in place, the ethics in place, you can be as big a club as you want. You're not going to win shit.
No, you're completely right. Like I said, I mean, Wayne, they've done wonderful stuff. I mean, I've read a few things, but I'm sure they've actually done not just within the football club. They've done wonderful things for the community of Leicester as well, haven't they?
They've just done some. It's hard to put into words what they've actually done because I think they've given the best part of £10 million to like local hospitals. I think most of that's gone to like children's hospitals in Leicester. They do a lot of stuff behind the scenes that doesn't get reported in the press. I know that for a fact. I've been told that they do an awful lot of stuff that they don't want reporting because they don't want it to come across as they're trying to get adulation. They're not that kind of people, but they do, and as I said, they don't get everything right, but they get 99% of things right. And that's what's important. They've kept the prices are quite cheap for a Premier League club. Some might say,
what is a season ticket at the moment there in Leicester? I know obviously London it's different. So
I think the dearest one is about £500. Now obviously some clever Leicester fan who might watch this say, well, I pay 600, but it's roughly between 500 and 600 at the very most for the most expensive tickets. And it's actually cheaper to buy a season ticket than it is to pick and choose your games. And I think the dearest match ticket is about £40.
Wow.
So I don't know if I'm right, but is Tottenham the most expensive club to watch in Europe, or certainly in the UK?
Yeah, I mean, I know for
Arsenal.
So what happens? What we're doing here, we're the most expensive season ticket in Europe right now per game. I don't think we are, like Bob said, but I don't know if Leicester do as well. We have category A, category B, category C. So the cheapest ticket for the field coming up is like £75. That's the cheapest.
Our fans would go absolutely mad if our club charged that, but our owners wouldn't do that. I think I can word you. You know when we won the cup final?
Yep.
When, and Top came on the pitch afterwards. How many owners of different clubs in the Premier League would have looked at that and thought, I could never do that. But the players love him, the fans adore him. And that just shows the connection that he's got with the players, and that also relates then to the fans. So we've been fantastic, or they've been fantastic. Obviously when we lost the father, and that, as great as winning the Premier League was, that was horrible. I can't put into words. As happy as Leicester was when we won the league, for 2 weeks after the owner died, that was horrendous. And you would not wish that on anybody.
Correct.
But to lose, I try not to get emotional because it really upset me at the time. And he was such a great bloke. Before home games, he'd walk around the ground and just talk to fans and listen to what any issues. He'd literally walk around. And if he found out something that was going on that he didn't know, he'd correct it. And the son still does that now. He walks around outside the ground before games. That's the kind of owner you want. Someone who listens to the fans. And, as I say, it's great. Someone said to me once, and it was a bit of a stupid question, would you give up the league for the father still to be alive? Of course I would. I'd give it up every day of the week.
Yep.
And everyone used to call him the boss. And as great, as I say, as great as winning the league was, losing him was horrendous. That was it was so far off the scale, it was unreal. When the reports...
Go on, sorry. When
the reports came through after the game, because it came on Twitter, thought it were a wind-up. Put Sky News on, and they were talking because we just played West Ham, and one of my friends was actually at the game, and he rang me literally 20 minutes later. He said something major's gone off here. Don't know what it is, but there's a massive fire right near to the ground. And obviously, then things came up, and I have to pay a lot of credit to different fans around the country who travelled from all over the country to lay their scarves and top and shirts and that, even from Forest, Derby, Coventry, literally, and that was really touching. I think sometimes people take football too seriously. And then sometimes you have to have a bit of perspective in life. What's important and what's not.
Yep.
The guy sitting to your right, that's what's important. I used to get really angry and frustrated when Leicester lose games
Yeah, so did I.
You know,
I used to get
seven,
very angry.
But 7 years ago, when I nearly lost my mum, and thankfully she's still here. But that kind of put things in perspective for me. I said to myself at the time, I'm never going to get annoyed if Leicester lose again. And I don't. Yeah, I might get frustrated, I might get disappointed, but I never lose my rag about it because it's just a game of football. Now I know that it's important to some people, and I get that, but it's not life or death. That's how I look at it.
That's kind of where you were since you come out of hospital as well, Bob, wasn't it? I mean, obviously, I know you too well, and you get frustrated. But as you said quite often on stream since you've been back, you've got this kind of new look at on results like that as well now, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, I think in life you just need clarity. You can be pissed off. You can call out players when they're playing shit. I think we're as fans we're entitled to that. But I think it doesn't consume me as much. I'm Spurs through and through. I follow them every day. I look at Spurs is part of my life every single day. But a defeat doesn't consume me as much as it used to before. Unfortunately, we've had a few of those this season. But I've also learned to differentiate and put my energy levels, certainly positive energy levels, in different aspects. In a way, right now, my positive energy is for my club wanting to finish fourth. That's where all my energy is. I want to finish fourth. I want it. I believe it. I expect it, and I'll be absolutely gutted. The gutting side of it will come if we don't finish fourth. But then my positive, and I see this as positive energy. My positive energy will be solely put towards the board. I will be positive in wanting all of my energy to them to leave the club, i.e. protests, i.e. whatever I do on the stream. And I see that as a positive energy to my fellow protesters. We must do this. If we think positive enough, we will make a change. They will leave. So, but right now, like I say, I have to differentiate. The protesting, wanting change at the board level will come at the end of the season, because right now I'm not wasting my energy on something that I cannot change right now. Right now, all I can use is my energy towards us needing or wanting, certainly hoping, to finish fourth. And like I say, clarity, perspective in life are just two of the things that my lovely near on 4 months at the hospital has taught me.
There you go. And one final question for you, Wayne, before we go on to the next category is obviously, and I'm going to word this question very, very carefully, because when the horrific, I remember I was in London, I was just about to come back to Canada when that happened, and obviously you saw it on BT Sports where the helicopter landed, and then obviously we know what happened. Once the dust had settled, and obviously the mourning was over and the funeral and all the team went out there, was there any fear with Leicester that the son may take over, or was it always known? Would he'd sell up, or was it always known that he was going to do what he's done and carry on his dad's great work and stay within the city?
That's a really good question, and I'm trying to sort of take my mind back to that time. I think from a personal point of view, I kind of looked at it and thought his son had done as much as what his dad had by interacting with the fans. So he knew, his son would go off and do different things away from his dad in the city on his own and do different things. So he knew what the football club meant to the supporters and what it meant to everyone who lives in Leicester. One
of them thoughts come to you later on, Wayne? I mean, surely, and I'm pretty sure it would have, but right then when it happened, it was irrelevant, wasn't it? It was irrelevant who was going to take over.
Yeah,
that was something that,
I perhaps should have worded that different, but for 2 or 3 months that thought nobody thought that. But I think it, and again, someone might correct me here, but I'm pretty sure that at some point he came out and says, I'm here for the long haul. I'm going to carry on what my dad started.
Within days, yeah.
It might have been. I honestly don't know. I honestly can't remember. You know, because everything was such a blur, if that's the right way of putting it. You know, he might have done it within days, Bob. I honestly can't remember. And I should know as a Leicester fan. But at the time, I was more concerned about the fact we'd lost our owner. That's all. It was. You know, I've only ever cried 3 times in my life, and one of them was when I went down to the ground and laid my own flowers, paid my own respects, and that was the hardest half an hour I've ever had in my life. It sounds bizarre because I've never met the guy, and I probably, but it was the impact he had on my life. He made me proud to be a Leicester supporter. He gave not so much obviously Leicester fans mostly, but he gave football fans around the country hope. He gave them if you run your club right, and this is not rubbing it in, if you run your club right and you're all you're singing off the same hymn sheet, anything is possible. Anything.
Yeah.
I can't understand that, because I kind of had that feeling when Diana passed away. Didn't know her, but I was absolutely gutted.
Yeah.
And I was, and let's be honest, she was fit. We all think it.
There is that. I actually had the joy of meeting her once. So, you know, Bob, at the bottom of my road where that big roundabout is, like nearer my parents' end, there's a chicken shed theatre, which is obviously a charitable organisation. Well, she was the patron for it, or whatever they call the ambassador, and she actually opened it up. So you can imagine my road and everywhere was just rampacked. So I actually got to see her. I wouldn't say meet her, but my thing with Diana is I remember just after she'd passed, or not just after, in 2000 I was working at Harrods for Christmas. I was working in their sport department, and every day, 15 minutes before he closed, he'd play the blooming Elton in the John Candle in the Wind song on repeat, just to keep doing it. And it was like it hit home every day. But that's probably the biggest tragedy like we can compare it to as with being Spurs fans. But do you know what? Enough of talking about Leicester winning the league. Enough about talking how great your champagne is. And
I know where you're going with this.
Champagne and rainbows. It's time for me and Bob to have some fun. We're going to talk. We'll take a stroll down memory lane, quite recent memory lane, and we're going to discuss 2 games in particular. And we'll save the most recent ones for last. But obviously, we will both remember a game very well for very good reasons. Not so much you, Wayne, was when we finished second in the league that season, and we
finished second.
We finished second.
Yeah, that season. Yeah, that season. I thought we were still talking about the Leicester.
No, we finished second.
I know.
We came to Leicester, needing I think we confirmed that St Tottenham's Day was done, but I don't think we'd confirmed second until this game. Yeah. And also, we went into this game with Harry Kane 2 goals behind Romelu Lukaku. And he ended it 2 goals ahead of Romelu Lukaku, which was obviously that 6-1. Bob, you and me didn't know each other then, but what were your memories of that game?
We had to go there. We had to go there and show a bit of authority. I remember the game, of course. I remember Sonny and Kane. But what I remember is Kane being so selfish that day, and I think Schmeichel came out. I think it was a day after the game, whatever, or a couple of days, and it was on the. What I tend to do, if we've had a really good win, I'll go onto the opposition's fan channels as well, or their like Leicester FC TV. I don't know if you've got one, but whether it was. But all I remember is Schmeichel saying, "You know what? I've never seen a single-minded striker the way Harry Kane was that particular night. Whenever he had the ball, I had to be it 40 yards out, be it 30 yards out. I knew there was a shot coming." And he goes, "It's the best performance I'm paraphrasing, of course I am, but he goes, "It's the best striker I've ever faced on a particular day." And Harry Kane's got a brilliant record against Leicester as it is. He always tends to show up, and the fact that Leicester fans, but I think he gets a bit of stick from Leicester fans as well. I mean, there is a sense of pride. I know a Leicester fan really, really well, and he goes, "You do realise we made Harry Kane." on that during that loan period. Obviously tongue in cheek, but yeah, I just remember Schmeichel saying it's the best striker on an individual day I've ever faced, because he was so direct, wasn't he? He was so selfish. He was taking shots. I mean, the fourth goal was from God knows how. Schmeichel could have done better, but put it this way: if he was that far out in today's today, he'd be looking where to put a through ball to. But yeah, that day he was tunnel vision. He knew, and we all know what his mindset is. He knew it was within a few goals from Lukaku. Lukaku probably just sat back and thought, "What the hell?" And then we all know what happened in the next game with Kane. He was like, "See ya, Lukaku. Do you really want to go for the golden boot? No, you're right, mate. You're right. 7 goals in 2 games.
It was incredible. Do you know what I remember about that game as well, Paul? It's good that you remember. There's 2 things that I really remember. But the first thing is, you talk about Kane being selfish. Before he scored his first, I remember Son took on a shot where he should have squared it to him.
That's it.
And Harry Kane
was
like you just slapped his mother or something, and he just caught it. I've never seen Harry Kane explode in rage the way he did when that ball wasn't crossed. But do you know what? There's a couple of clips in that game where Moussa Dembele and Victor Wanyama, who for me, Victor Wanyama that season was my player of the season.
Yeah.
He was
underrated that season.
Oh my God, that season he was. But there was a moment where 2 Leicester players were literally trying to drag him down, and he just did one of those pirouettes and just left them. It's just like, go away.
Yeah.
But I mean, that game for me, I remember watching it at home. Mum and Dad were out. Ilana was upstairs, and Ilana actually came upstairs because I was thumping the table so loud when we scored. That game was football. Like we knew we'd beaten Arsenal. We were going to finish this Tottenham's Day and finish above the filth. But I didn't see a 6-1 performance coming out. It was just unbelievable.
Also, I think the fact that we scored right after they equalised, because it was 1-0, then it went 1-1, didn't it?
Yeah.
And then
we went 2-0.
It went 2-0.
That's it. And then you came into the game to make it 2-1, and then everyone thought, they're going to get nervous, and we made it 3-1. Sonny scored, didn't he, to make it 3-1? It was 2, and then second half, we know what happened.
Oh, it was just. Yeah. What was it like being a Leicester fan for that game? Where were you at that point in the season?
Under the bed.
That was when you had Shakespeare, wasn't it? Because I think Ranieri had gone. It was the next season, so it must have been Shakespeare or whatever the guy's name was.
Yeah. Ranieri had been sacked about February time, and we were in real danger of going down.
Yeah. And
Shakespeare came in and just said, "Right, we're just going to go back to basics. We're just going to do what we did last season,
get thrashed."
And it just turned. It literally just turned overnight. The moment Ranieri went, we started playing as a team again. And I think we won something like about 5 out of 6 games. And we pulled, well, I think we ended up finishing about 13, 14, something like that. Might have been higher, I can't remember. But that was just one of them games where, and I said this to Brian before, that when Kane plays against us, he turns into a prime Maradona and Van Basten rolled into one.
Yeah.
It's just like, not so much when it's at your ground, but when he comes to our ground, it's like he turns into the best player on the best player that you've ever seen. It's everything he hits goes in. And I don't know what it is. You know, it's not like when he was on loan for us that we gave him a stick or anything like that. Whether he's got a gripe against us, but he just seems to turn it on, especially at the King Power Stadium. He always plays out of his skin. And I think as players, some players have teams where they always do really well against, and other teams where they don't. You know, it's like with Vardy. He always seems to score against Arsenal. He always seems to score against Liverpool. Might not win the game, but he always does well.
Yeah.
But that, I mean, it was 6-1. It could have been 10. I can't sit here and say any different. It's easy to say we were shocking that night. We were awful, but that's kind of taking it away from Tottenham. Tottenham completely utterly played us off the park. We were bad, but Tottenham were really good. You know, they were fantastic that night. And as you say, Kane he totally destroyed us. Totally and utterly tore us to pieces that night. I can't say anything else. You know, you lose 6-1 at home, you can't turn around and say, well, we played well, we were unlucky. We've got
but you were safe by then as well, weren't you, Wayne? So
I think that was our second to last game.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think we were 11-4, 12-13. We were no danger of going down.
Yeah.
So
and I think that probably played into it. There was nothing to play for, and Kane. I think it really as simplifies as it sounds. I think Kane's determination to simply finish. Well, we're going to finish above Arsenal anyway, like Brian says. But his determination to finish top goal scorer, and I think the reaction when Sonny didn't pass to him kind of showed where his mindset was at. And he single-handedly. I know everyone had a brilliant game. But I think Kane had a big hand of that single-mindedness, and I think the team just followed that.
On top of that, Bob, we just literally, that team had 11 players that will die for each other, and fight for each other. That team, like I've been saying recently in pods that I go on or streams that I go on. You and me always talk about our hero, Paul Gascoigne, and how we are lucky to say we've sat in the stadium and watched him. The Ginolas, the Klinsmans, the whatever. They've all been players in a team, but I don't think we've seen a team like that. I remember going to Spurs that season, and it was literally not how we're going to play. It was like, how many we're going to win by. That team was, and ironically, it was Conte in that 15-game run or 14-game run that we stopped that did it. But now, going to quickly touch on another game, a little bit closer to home, which obviously Bob didn't get to see because he just didn't want to see it, and he decided to put himself in a coma for a bit. So
I was when that game happened, I was high on drugs. I was about to go.
Oh, you were awake.
But I didn't see the game. I tried to see the game, but I remember nothing about it, man.
So do you know what? I was very, very lucky when I was back in England. Obviously, people will know me and Bob have a very good connection with Ben and Simon at We Are Tottenham TV, and I was doing a lot of work with them. And they said to me, Brian, listen, all the work you do, we got a spare ticket for Leicester. Do you want to come? I was like, oh, hell yeah, I want to come. First thing I did was message Wayne going, are you going to the Leicester game? He was like, no, I'm not. But we spoke all the way up there, and I got the car up there with Simeon, Grandpa and Graham. Got to Leicester. It was the first time I've been to the new stadium. I actually love your stadium, Wayne.
A nice stadium.
It's actually a really, really nice stadium.
Easy to get to as well, which is a rarity.
It's a lovely stadium to go to. Going up to we were in the upper part of the corner, but the curly stairs to go up to because it's so only one stand. It didn't have all those vast steps to walk up and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, got in there, and obviously Leicester got off to a good start, and then they scored. I think it was Patson Daka, and then we started leaving out chants. I was like, the day before that is when I started at the training ground. So people started seeing me going, wait a minute, you? I was like, yeah, that's me. But then the Levy out came, and then obviously Harry Kane, who again, as we just said, had a blinder in that game. That was the turn of his season, in my actual opinion. Scored the great goal, but we were very attacking. Then obviously you went 2-1 up.
Maddison, yeah.
You went 2-1 up, and it was right near the end, or about 15, 20 minutes. I was like, oh no, here we go. And then, like I said, I've experienced many a thing at Tottenham Hotspur. Many a thing. Some great, some brilliant, some good, some horrific. But I can't describe to you those 2 minutes. I cannot even begin to put into words those 2 minutes for Bergwijn. And not only that, once Bergwijn scored and everyone came in, fans literally were running onto the pitch. Mora's taking someone's hat off. Literally, it was just insane. And then after the game, they all came out, and we were there for about 15, 20 minutes just singing Antonio. And Tottenham get battered everywhere they go. I can't even begin. And Wayne was messaging me throughout that game. I mean, you've got not a lot. Obviously, you can't say a lot about it, Bob. But Wayne, what was going through? I mean, that game must have been the roller coaster of emotions. But I know what I went through. What about yourself?
Obviously, I can't answer that truthfully. I'm also going to get your channel to get demonetized. So, but we can't. But we kind of. And I said I wouldn't use this word, but we kind of Spursied ourselves. Now, the thing was, Tottenham were by far the better team in that. I can't sit here and say that you weren't. You know, I wouldn't say that we deserved to lose, but I think a draw would have been a fair result. Now, I was watching the game on TV, and when you scored with like 3 minutes into injury. Only Leicester could be 2-1 up with a minute and a half to go and still lose the game. That, as great as brilliant as success we've had over the last 6 years, we are so capable of doing that. It's, even as Leicester, mate, if we were 2-0 up with a minute to go, we're still, sometimes you think this could collapse. You get your equaliser and then you see what Tielemans is going to, I've just gone like that, because he's just literally gave it to your guys and it's literally 4-on-2. Bergwijn puts it in and I'm just looking at the camera, just looking at the telly like, what can you say? But the thing is, that's football. It can happen to anyone. Yeah. And there'll be times where in the future someone will do that to Spurs. So, we've done it to other teams where we've been losing and we've got a last minute winner but that's kind of been our season. In them last 2 or 3 minutes, that's our season there. I think we've lost something like we've lost 28 points this year from winning positions. And we've lost, I think it's 10 or 11 points where we've conceded injury time goals. If we'd have not, you say if we'd not, but if we hadn't let those goals in injury, we'd have 11 more points than what we've got now. So, fair play to Tottenham, but that's football. It can happen. We've done it to teams and someone will do it to you at some point. And that's and there's, I think it's better when that kind of thing happens when you're away from home than if you're at home, because you're all together.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. So I can't sit here and say anything else, but that's it's. I wouldn't say we're a team of bottle jobs, but sometimes players switch off, and I think we've done that 4 or 5 times this year. And I don't want to go in on Tielemans because he gave me he gave us a great moment in the cup final. But he's cost us 4 points in 2 games this year. The pass, he might as well have just passed it to Kane on the penalty spot. And then we played Newcastle, 2 weeks ago? He should have put Joe Willock in the stand and just lets him run past him. Newcastle get down and score. Cost us another point. So, but it's football. And as I say, I'm not going to slaughter Tielemans. But he's not been very good this season.
He's someone I'd love at Spurs, but I have to tell you, I mean, I don't know, Bob, if you've watched that game back or even you, Wayne, when I watched that Bergwijn winner, I've never, especially when I was in the ground, I've never seen a ball move so slowly in all my life. And it's the way that he falls down, it just trickles, it hits the post, and then you see Sionchu just try and, I've never seen a ball move so slowly in life, live in my whole life. That goal took like an eternity to go in.
I've not watched it again. I only watched it that once. At that time, that was enough. You don't need to say it again. The 6-1, I've actually watched the highlights on YouTube today because I couldn't remember who scored for us.
Yep.
I knew Kane got at least 2, but I couldn't remember that he got 3. So
four. He got 4.
Was it 4? Yeah. Was it that he got? Did he get an hat-trick on the last day of the season? Away
to Hull.
Was that 6 or 7-1? It was one of the 2.
7 we beat Hull. 13 goals in 2 games, and he got 7 of them.
He got 7 of them, and he finished way clear of Lukaku.
But what happened? That's football. It can happen to anyone. Who's to say that when we, it might be wishful thinking here, we might do that to you on Saturday or on Sunday? Sorry, you don't know, but it happens.
There we go. Now you mentioned Sunday, let's do it, and we'll start with you, Wayne. What's your thoughts? Because obviously you've got a huge game. All right, it's the Conference League, and go on, Bob.
Can I just give the biggest trip down memory line ever? And I think Wayne, you were at this game. I think you were about 20 odd or something. 1960 when we beat 1961 when we beat Leicester 2-0 in the FA Cup final to complete the double. And that was the biggest for me. That sealed the first ever double. I think Bobby Smith and
Terry Dyson.
Dyson, that's it, who scored the goals. So
yeah, that was a bit before my time.
Yeah, you convince yourself of that, Wayne. We know you were there, but yeah, that for me is the trip down memory lane.
There you go. That's it. I mean, like you said, it's the first double. God, we just want a single right now.
Yeah,
We'll take a single, but because obviously you've got a huge game tomorrow, haven't you, Wayne? And obviously, I've been saying the way I see it is obviously if you get a good result against Roma, you may rest some play, or I think you'll go full strength. But if you need your players for the second leg because it's a draw, or you need away goals, whatever it may be, how do you see it from your side?
I think a lot depends on how tomorrow goes. I think if hopefully we're still in the tie, I think this Roma semi-final of both legs is going to come down to one goal. I think it's going to be very tight. I don't think there's going to be much in it. I think that again, this is dependent on the result tomorrow. Let's just say we draw, we win by a single goal. None of our back four that plays tomorrow night will play at Tottenham. It'll be our second string back four, which will be Justin, Amarte, Soyuncu, and Thomas. He might play Fofana because he's coming back from an injury.
He's coming back, yeah.
And I have to say this about Fofana, and this is not over being delusional, but that kid is going to be world class within 3 years. He's unreal. Yep. He's absolutely unreal. He makes mistakes, but he's going to at 21. But he's as good as defender as I've seen play for Leicester, and I've been following him for 40 years. His reading of the game is incredible, and his speed is unreal. He has been a massive loss for us this year. We've literally been out all season, and Vardy's missed more games than he's played. And it's like, if you took Kane and Romero out of Tottenham's team, would you be where you are now? And that's all clubs get injuries.
Yeah.
All clubs get injuries, but we've had an horrendous season with injuries, and we've had a bad season. Can't word it in either way. But we're still, I think it's 10th or 11th, it's one of the two. But literally every game we've had about 7 or 8 first team players who could play, who would make a difference, who have not been playing. And it's made, we've missed Fofana, we've missed Ndidi, he's not played much this season. Pereira and Evans, when Fofana plays with Evans, we look so much better at the back. Soyuncu is very hit and miss. And the ironic thing is, sometimes our defence has not been great this year. But we're the only team who have stopped Liverpool from scoring in the league, and that was playing 2 central midfielders and centre halves.
Bloody hell!
And that's the two sides of Leicester. What happened against you guys happened. We played Liverpool, who arguably got the best front three in world football. You could argue. We stopped them. Yes, I know Salah missed a penalty, and sometimes when you beat them, you've got to have a bit of luck. But they are beatable. They're only human. We've been consistent. We've been inconsistent this year. You never know what Leicester team's going to turn up. You really don't. I'll give you an example. We played at Man City, I think Boxing Day, and we were 4-0 down after 25 minutes, and it could have been 8 by half time.
Yeah.
Went in at 4-0. First 25 minutes of the second half, we absolutely destroyed them. Got it back to 4-3. And then our Achilles heel at the time, we conceded another 2 goals from set pieces. And that's not exaggerating it. We literally played Man City off the park for 25 minutes, went to their ground, and literally we had nothing to lose. But then but that's just how we can be. There's been a lot of games this year where we've been really good in games, not been able to finish them off. And then they've had a moment of madness and it's come back to haunt us. So, I can't sit here and I don't know what Leicester team's going to turn up. Don't know which team he's going to pick. And obviously it's going to be dependent on what the result is. So the flip side to that is the player, let's just say he makes 8 or 9 changes. The players that come in might have something to prove to try and get a place for the return leg. And I'm not expecting anything because to me the Roma game is more important than Tottenham.
Yep.
It's not being disrespectful to Tottenham. You know, we can't get down. We can't qualify for Europe by the league position. But what I would say is when you play against a team that's got nothing to lose, there's nothing on it for us, they're a dangerous team to play. And all the pressure is on Tottenham. It makes no difference to us whether we play well or to me. Yeah, obviously I want us to win because I'm a Leicester supporter. I can't sit here and say, well, I hope you beat us. I can't say that. I want Leicester to win. No, can't. You know, obviously I want Leicester to win, but I'm not expecting. I'm more concerned with the Roma game, and it might only be the Europa Conference, but it's still a trophy, and we're at the semi-final stage, and that matters. Now we might end up going out to Roma, and if we do, we do. But at least we've given it a go, and as fans, that's all you can ask for.
Yeah,
you know, I can't sit here and say, yeah, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Vardy might play. He might. I don't think he'll start against Roma, but he might start against you guys to get him some fitness in his legs for the return game. You know, I hope he plays Daka because he's going to be a very good player, but he's struggling with he's really struggling with confidence at the minute, and it's taking him a long time to adapt. Not so much, I suppose, to English football. It's like Samari. Again, he's going to be a very good player next season. It's almost like it's taken them both a year to get used to the English game. But you don't know what Leicester's going to turn up. It could be one that played the last 5 minutes at our ground against you, or it could be the team that played for 25 minutes at Man City. Now, I know football is 90 minutes, and I get that, but I can't sit here and say, well, this is how we're going to play. I honestly can't. They might turn up and think, do you know what, we owe these one from earlier in the season. It could be like that. You don't know. You know, football is mentality.
Correct. Bob, what do you see? What do you see going into this game right now and the way we are?
I think first of all, in Leicester, I think Wayne's right. It's going to be a tight game. Mourinho, Roma, it's tight games written all over it. So I do believe they'll make changes. I don't think they'll make that many changes though, because I don't think, if I'm right, Wayne, he's not. Brendan Rodgers hasn't made that many changes. He's made changes, but not wholesale changes after a European game. But having said that, it's semi-final, so he might do so.
Yeah, I know when we played PSV and we won there. When we played Newcastle 3 days later, I think he made 8 changes.
Right.
And in my opinion, he shouldn't have made that many. It was kind of why if something's not broke, why try and fix it? Yeah. You know, it wasn't like we was playing the day later. You know, if we'd have played PSV, then played Newcastle, we had a week before we played again. That recovery time. Yeah. And, you know, players who came off the bench were like, it wasn't that they couldn't be bothered, but it was like you could see that they wanted to play from the start. And I personally think that. Yeah. And as I said earlier, we really missed. If we've got Evans and Fofana against Newcastle, we probably win that game, or we at least draw it. That's not being disrespectful to Newcastle, but we don't concede that goal if indeed he's playing. We don't concede that goal if Fofana and Evans are playing, because they put the player in the stand or they clear that ball. But you know, Bob's right. We're so unpredictable. We could turn up and play like prime Barcelona, but we could also turn up and end up playing like Norwich.
Yeah, and with regards to, you know, teams having nothing to play for, we've seen that against the likes of Brentford and Brighton of late. I do think if they play, I do fear Daka. I do think there's a player in there somewhere. Like you say, I think there's something needs to come out of him. And if they play, I think Vardy is going to want minutes. He's certainly going to want goals. Does cause us a few problems every time he plays. And again, we don't know if he's going to play, but Maddison, I think
I have to say about Maddison, he's been brilliant this season. He's really stepped up to the plate, and it's a good job that he has done, because, as I say, indeed he's been injured for literally 3 quarters of the season, and we've really missed him.
Yeah.
You know, on his day, he's as good as anybody, in my opinion, as an holding midfielder in this country. I think he's as good as I wouldn't say he's better than Rice, but he's as good as Rice. And I think, if you offered Ndidi 20, include Liverpool and Man City, they'd take him. He can be that good.
I would take Ndidi right now. I would take Ndidi right now, Tottenham. But if I had to pick two other players that I'd love at Tottenham more than anything, is Dewsbury Hall and Harvey Barnes, who I think are both outstanding young prospects. And who's the defender that you got from Luton? Is it Thomas or
James Justin?
James
Justin.
Yeah, but we're going to come to you, Wayne, for the danger men that you see for Tottenham. But who would you see as three danger men for Leicester yourself, Bob?
Our danger men.
No, their danger men.
Yeah, like I said, if they play, I do believe. Oh, Vardy, surprise, is getting fit just in time for a Tottenham game. If there's any big player for any club that you want to get fit, just make sure they play Spurs in a few weeks and they'll be miraculously fit. But yeah, Daka, I do like him. All right, I think we spoke of him when we linked. When we were part of 774 players that we're linked with. He was one of them. And Maddison always has a good game against us. He obviously got that winner against us last season. Yeah, last season when we lost, or Poch season, wasn't it? When we lost 2-1 at their ground. So
as well last season. He scored against us.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
he got disallowed.
he shows up against
disallowed.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, they were offside, literally about an arm's width of an arm.
It wasn't even that. It was a fingernail.
The thing with Maddison is he's always had that. Not so much technical bit, but he can make players look really stupid. And his vision is fantastic. Now, Maddison plays better when Vardy's in the team. But at the minute, because, as you just said,
vice versa as well. I think Vardy plays better when Maddison's in the team. And
the problem that we've had with Maddison, I'd say the last month is, and it's not a problem with him personally, is that, Brian's just mentioned him, Dewsbury Hall, he's been absolutely phenomenal for us this season. You look at him and you think, this is not being disrespectful. He can't be a footballer, but he's been our best player this season by, let's say, a country mile, but by a long way. If there was a fans vote now, I'd be amazed if he didn't win it. But so because Dewsbury Hall and Tillemans are playing, Maddison's having to sort of play on the right. But Maddison is better playing as a number 10. Now, if it was me personally, I'd drop Tillemans and play Dewsbury Hall and Menda and have Maddison as a 10. If you're going to play Emerson Royal at fullback, I'd just keep giving the ball to Harvey Barnes. Now, Barnes is I love him.
I like him.
He's got, he's the guy, I've got the number on the back of the shirt.
Okay.
But he's
naturally left-footed as well. Yeah.
I think with Barnes he can play with either foot. You can play him on the right. When you get the ball on the left, when he's on it, he's not in Mahrez. I'm not saying he's as good as Mahrez, but there's been certain games where he's destroyed teams this season. And if Tottenham have, you look at Tottenham and I think your biggest weakness is your wing backs.
You don't have to tell us that, mate.
I like Romero.
All right. Listen, I have to tell you very quickly, whenever this gets mentioned, and let's see if I'm doing this right first time. I did, yes. But when this man's here, I'll tell you why. When we were linked with him last summer, I knew him by name. That was it. This man here was trying to get a sponsorship deal with Kleenex because he said every time I mention Romero's name, things happen downstairs, and I didn't know a lot about him, but my God, this guy. I mean, Bob spoke. I mean, David at the Irish Hospital was another one, but I speak to Bob every single day or every other day, and whenever we were on streams, he was waxing lyrical about this guy, and this guy is something very, 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 very special for me. He could be better than Van Dijk and the best defender in the world in a couple of years. That's how good I think he is.
I mean, I've not watched every Tottenham game, so I can't comment on that. But what I would say is the games that I've seen him play, he's looked very good.
Yep.
And he's the shine. to me is the shining star in your back five. And if you took him out of that back five, I think Tottenham are in big trouble. He's literally the that's holding it all together. As I said, and I don't mean this being disrespectful. I don't rate your wing backs. Just don't. I really,
they're all right back and left back. That's the thing, Wayne. This is like you said when we go back to scouting. You buy players, and your owners have faith in your scouting network and your manager to say, right, you want this player, off you go. Here's the check. I've signed it. Put the money in. Whereas we've got Reguilon who has bought for Mourinho to play as left back. We've got Emerson who has bought to play as right back for Nuno. But because neither of these managers stay, they've now got to fit types with Antonio Conte's system, and they're being forced from their natural fullback position to wing back.
Yeah, I mean, I look at that, and again, this is not a criticism of the club, but this is a criticism of Lever. Everyone knows that.
Back in 1 minute.
That Conte's system revolves around the wing backs. Now he came in November. You had all January to go out, even if it was just two, to go out and buy two top class wing backs, and you didn't.
Correct.
I mean, you was linked with what's his name, Traore.
Yep.
And you think to yourself, Conte's main attacking threat through his wing backs, but you've not got anyone that can play there. And it's
correct.
If you was picking a combined, and I'm probably going to get pelters for saying this, if you picked a combined team of playing 3-5-2, any one of our fullbacks walked straight into Tottenham's team. Any one of them
Without
four,
doubt.
without question. And that's not being disrespectful to Tottenham.
Oh,
I like Doherty, and I've always rated him as a player.
Yeah.
But the other three, I would not want any of them at Leicester at all.
Well, you know what it is, Wayne? Sessegnon, I believe there's something there, but he's made of Weetabix. So every time he gets hacked or whatever, he's got injured. But what I like about him, he seems to understand the wing back role like Doherty does. That's where they have played before and they're used to doing it. Can we get better? Of course, but it's keeping him fit. I reckon if we can keep him fit and overgo his and get away from his niggling injuries, we might have a player there. But you are completely correct. Your fullbacks, in like you said, your first string and your second string, if they were to play the second, they both walk in. All four of them walk into our wing backs because they are awful. But who else stands out for you in our teams? You've obviously mentioned Romero. We've mentioned Kane. Obviously, you've got Son. But if you had to pick someone apart from Kane and Son,
I like Bentancur. I think there's something about him. I think he's got that quality that he can open teams up, but he's also got that nasty streak in him. And that's not being disrespectful.
Yeah.
I really like him. I can remember watched him at the 2018 World Cup for Uruguay. And I've got a friend who lives in Italy, big Juventus fan, and he was gutted when he left because although he weren't playing, he said Tottenham have got a player there. If Conte plays him right, which he said he should do because he knows him, he said they've got a really good player there. I really like Bentancur. It's easy to pick, Kane and Son. They're the obvious threats, but Bentancur, I like him. Romero, very good defender. From what I've seen, I've seen him about 5 times, and no one seems to have made him look daft. I think the big test for Romero when you play at Anfield to see how he goes against Liverpool, that'll be a good test to see.
Well, this is the other thing, Wayne, because you mentioned your injuries. I think, from what I remember, Romero was out for about 3 months for us with his hamstring, 2-3 months. And you look at him now, and if he'd been there for those 2-3 months, I don't think we're in the race for top 4. I think we're still top 4. That's how important is it. I mean, I could talk about him, but this man here can just talk a bit about Bob about Romero, because obviously you saw it from get-go.
Yeah, I mean, I described him as a dog. He sees the ball, he sees the player. If he wants to go for it, he'd go for it. And I don't think we'd be exaggerating. Obviously, we're going to big up our own players. But I don't think there's any exaggeration when I say no one, and I mean no one, not one striker has had the better of Romero so far this season, and I honestly mean that. I can't think of a single striker who's had the better. Yes, he's been involved in a handball against City, was it?
Yeah, I was there. Yeah,
But there's not a single striker, going, putting him under pressure and sometimes going past him is all part and parcel of a defender. Van Dijk has that, but out and out where a striker's had the better of him, where it leads to a goal or an opportunity, or I don't know where he is where mistakes leading to goals. I bet he's on zero. He really would be on zero. I cannot remember a single striker, be it an Antonio, be it I was in a coma when we played Liverpool, but I can't remember a single striker getting the better of Romero this season, and that is without me exaggerating.
No, you're right there. So what we'll do now, we'll have a quick wrap up and give predictions and how we think the game's going to go. So we'll go with you first, Wayne. Obviously, being the away team and the guest here. So and also, Wayne, what we do at the end is we let people know where we can find everyone. So if you want to give out your Twitter handle or anything, because they believe me when I say people have seen you in the chat, and it's so nice that we have another Wolves fan as well. When we see opposing fans in the chat, it's always nice to all get along. So if you want to give out your Twitter handle, entirely up to you. But give us a little rundown of how you think the game going and your prediction.
Well, my Twitter handle's at Frodo Fox. Frodo because I'm a massive Lord of the Rings fan, and Fox obviously because I'm a Leicester fan. So anyone wants to follow it, they're quite welcome to. I will follow them back. Regarding the game, I'd take a draw now. And it, as I said earlier, it all depends on which team we put out. And it's that, but it's also which Leicester team is going to turn up. What I would say is it's not so much an advantage to Spurs, but we've got nothing to play for. But the flip side to that is that's also a dangerous, because we've got no pressure on us. We can just go out and play. Rodgers might just say, do you know what? He might make 8 changes. He might just say, go out and play. Go and do what you do best. Just go out and play. Don't worry about what happens. And I think that could be dangerous, but it also, again, Kane and Son might turn into Ronaldinho and Maradona for that game, like they normally do against us. But that's, as I say, but my heart says I hope it's a 1-1 draw. My head says it'll probably be 2-1 to you. And it pains me to say that. I don't want Leicester to lose. I always want us to win every game. But our energy is focused on Roma.
Of course, rightly so.
And if it was the other way around, we're really lucky not lucky, but we're fortunate that most of our players have now come back. Now the first team, I'll say most of them, we're still missing Ndidi. He's a massive loss for us. He can't emphasise how much, and the fact that we've had Fofana and Evans have been out for so long. If it's the first choice back four and Maddison, especially if Tielemans turns up, then we will give you a game. Because again, I'm not being disrespectful. I think personally, Maddison and Ndidi walk straight your first 11. Tielemans at the minute, I'm not sure about, and that might shock you, but he's not been very good this season. And again, it depends on which what the team is. And whether they're up for it. What I would say is all the pressure's on Tottenham. We've got nothing to lose. As I say, my heart says a draw, but my head says it will probably lose by a goal. Could be 3-1. But I'll be really amazed. I'll be amazed if we win.
There we go. So the pressure is on us, Bob, and we know how we normally do that. Well, obviously people know where to find you, but tell them where they can find you and that incredible hosts you have on Saturday, and your final thoughts on the game.
Yeah, you can find me on Bobspur TV. My Twitter handle is actually at Bobspur TV, we've got the In the Wall show happening at an earlier time of around 8:30 for an hour or so on Saturday, where I'll be having this guy. I did it straight away without even thinking about it. And Mari from the Love Lounge. Ah, yeah. Hosting, and I'll be at a curry house with loads of YouTubers, be it Rez, Stel, Iggy, Danny, I think Sean might be there.
Danny's in Amsterdam.
Oh yeah, of course. Barry, Ranjit, Kabir, Arthur. So yeah, there'll be a host of special YouTubers there. We'll be jumping on time. But I have my own little table at the restaurant where I'll be able to have my laptop out and be able to join in the wonderful show. Brian and Mari, if you're watching, you can bring on whoever you want as guests, and carry on as much as you want. If I've managed to get home for about 10:30 or so, I'll either carry on or jump in, depending if you guys are still going. With regards to a Spurs game, I'm not going to predict the score. I'll let this man predict the score for me because he knows what I'm going to say. It all depends on what kind of game, what kind of team Leicester put out. It's a must-win game for us. There's no getting away from it. And it's about time our world-class players showed up, unlike they haven't done against Brighton and Brentford. So it's all about us. And I keep on saying that. It's all about us. It's all about us turning up, doing what we can. The pressure thing, for me, it's a bit overrated because we've been under pressure this season. When we beat Man City, we were nowhere near the top four. Not a single Spurs fan saying we were in the top four race. I was high on drugs. I put it out there on Twitter, and I got pelters. So suddenly these flip. One thing about yourself, Brian, Stel, Scott M, I'll put in there. There's no flippity flops. Whereas the fan base, and I'm calling all of you out. You go from one extreme to the other. Get a fucking grip, man.
Yeah, can I? I didn't really want to sort of say this, but I hope it's okay to say this.
Of course it is.
One of my friends, I've got a friend who's a Tottenham fan, and he adores your club. Absolutely adores your club. And I've not told you about him before, but he's a cracking bloke. I'm not going to mention his name because he follows me on Twitter, but he's a massive Tottenham fan. And he says to me, the thing about our fans is we'll out of 5 games, we might win 4 or 5 games. We'll draw the other one. And suddenly every player in that team is world class. But he says if then over 5 games we only win 1, lose 3 and draw 1. He said it's complete and utter meltdown. He says it's from one extreme to the other. He said there's no middle ground with Tottenham fans.
Yep.
And I also see a lot of, I think I can word this, a lot of time they're talking about, would you rather win a trophy or qualify for the Champions League? Well, why can't you think, let's do both? You look at Man City, Liverpool, they think, right, we want to win the title, we want to win a cup, but we also want the Champions League. That's the mentality of their, and this argument, I see a lot of Spurs fans saying, oh, I'm not bothered about the Poxy FA Cup or the Poxy League Cup. I just want Champions League.
You'll never hear me or Brian say that.
But in 25 years' time, when we're all old and we've got grandkids, you can say, you can remember when, I can say to my grandkids, it was great when Leicester won the league and, we won the FA Cup. I won't want to turn around and say, well, we got to a Champions League final in 2019 and still be going on about it 20 years later. That's gone. Yeah. You don't hear Man City or Liverpool fans going on about finals that they've lost.
Yeah.
They just talk about the ones that, and I'm not being disrespectful to Tottenham fans in any way, shape, or form.
No, you should be. You should do. I mean, there's three things I want to pick up on that. First of all, Man City and Liverpool, we're not at the stage where we can start. We want to be there, of course. They're the play, and personally, I believe we're bigger than Man City. Liverpool, not so much. We have to be realistic. Liverpool have that cult following, and they are well recognised. Man City, we piss all over them when it comes to, how big we are. With regards to grandkids, Brian's got a few scattered around the world, but we won't go into that. Thirdly, I forgot what I was going to say now on the third.
I wonder how I've got grandkids if I haven't got any kids. That's a new one for me.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I can't remember. I've lost my train of thought.
Yeah, as I say, I didn't mean that to be
Oh
disrespectful.
no, that's it. Your friend, the Spurs supporter, if he wants a bit of intelligence, fan chat, please tell him to like and subscribe on Bobspur TV and Tottenham.
Yeah, I will do.
I will do. I mean, the link to the Bobspur will be in, and Wayne, everything you've just said is the exact embodiment of the problem at our club. That's the exact problem. Like Bob said, and as you've noticed, you know me, I am very, very outspoken when it comes to my, I'm not going to hide it, my agenda, which I blatantly have. But as Bob said, I've been like this since Martin Yole got this, and I am very, 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 very cutthroat and very, very outspoken when I speak about this. But like the analysis you gave from 5 games, 4 wins, world class. The other way around, this is the situation. But it all, as they say, a fish that's rotting rots from the top, and that's basically the centerpiece of all of it. Whether you Levy in, Levy on the fence, Levy out, we all want a successful Tottenham Hotspur. We all have that in common. It's just how we get there. But what I will say, just in closing, before we go, and I do my get my fingers ready, is obviously this game is huge. What the one thing I have that's riding on it is whether we get off to a fast start or not. And we keep saying that every game, fast start, because if we don't get off to a fast start, and after those 2 games, the stadium is not going to be a very happy place. And it's only going to get more and more unhappy and more volatile or toxic, whatever word you want to use, the further it goes. So, Bob, I mean, even Wayne knows, because Bob, when you're in hospital, every single game I predicted for me and Ben were like 4-1 Tottenham, 4-1 Tottenham, 4-1 Tottenham, 4-1 Tottenham. I'm going with what Wayne's head said. I'm going to say 2-1 Tottenham. But if I was to go with my heart, I can see a draw. But I think my head's going to win this time, and Harry Kane is going to turn into, as you said, Van Basten and Maradona, which is not a bad combination to be, in all honesty. Well, but no. Wayne and Bob, I want to thank you both very, very, very much. Go and follow Wayne on Twitter. Obviously, subscribe to Bobspur TV.
Big up NHS, by the way.
Big up the NHS.
Yeah, massive. Yeah, the NHS has saved my life twice. So I have to say,
you two have got in common.
I will be doing exclusive. Well, I've kind of mentioned it before, but I will be doing a 24-hour charity stream for the NHS, in particular, specifically for the Princess Alexandra Hospital, who saved my life twice. It'll be the 24-hour stream followed by a live stream when I actually go into the hospital and present them with a check, just to see their eyes light up and a small way of saying thank you. So yeah, don't know what time I'm going to do it. Don't know when. I think Brian might do it around when Brian comes over. But the thought of him spending 24 hours with me, I'm not quite sure. We'll have to think about that.
I thought the same, mate. I only came over to see you for 3 weeks. I did say for 3 months. I'm sick of the sight of you. But one thing I will mention on that, obviously, whether I'm here or there, I will be there for the 24 hours. No problem whatsoever. And also, Bob and I have a little bet going on. Kuva put in a super chat on the Irish Hotspurs channel. Be like Bob, don't be Brian, because I was saying we're not going to get Champions League. And I said, if we do get Champions League, I will be buying 100 T-shirts with that slogan, and every penny we make will go to Bob to give to the NHS, and vice versa. If we don't get Champions League, we'll do it the other way. But some money is coming to the NHS. So big up the NHS. But as it's Tottenham on tour, and I have to end it in my way. And as always, Levy out.
Tottenham on tour.